Hello friends, welcome to this special broadcast where we explore some more literary frontiers deeply connected with the thematic concept of freedom. As India celebrates her independence in the month of August, I thought it was apt to cross linguistic boundaries and honor the spirit of freedom by delving deep into the realm of the freedom of expression. Yes, we talk about translation today. The spirit of true translation unshackles the written word, breaks down linguistic walls, unites diverse global voices, defies and defines geopolitical borders. In order to explore this literary sovereignty, we invited Shipra Chaturvedi, who is an acclaimed translator mediating between German and Hindi. Her translations from German into Hindi symbolize the spirit of profound human freedom. Let us listen to what she has to say.
Hello listeners, Unshackling the World, how translation shapes freedom and defies borders. The word unshackle itself means bringing the words out of chains or restraints, giving people the freedom to speak openly without fear or censorship, liberating language from rigid rules, conventions or taboos, allowing thoughts and emotions to be expressed freely through words, breaking the silence on difficult or suppressed topics. So in the title we have the expression defying borders. What borders do we mean by that? Certainly political borders, but also invisible borders. Borders of prejudice, borders of ignorance, borders of fear. Translation quietly dissolves each of these. But how I relate this with my experience? So in my childhood, we have good collection of books. And thus, apart from Hindi literature, I read a lot of translated literature. Bengali Hindi, Russian Hindi, and to my utter surprise now, a lot of fairy tales, which now I know that those stories were originally German, of course. I read it in Hindi. So, one thing which I now understand, that I developed a feeling that there is much more than what I know and see around me. I never realized that was a kind of seeing beyond the horizon, unknowingly, effortlessly. I could imagine so many things which I never saw in my daily life, or about which we never talked at home or in school. Not at that age, but now I realize translation defies and shapes freedom from borders. This was the magic of translation. I am translating German literature in Hindi. While doing, I got to know so much about their culture. Reading such literature helps us to come out of prejudice. We start thinking that we do this like this, but they have different ways to do the same thing. It helps us developing understanding and tolerance for each other. How translation works. Like when we read a Japanese novel, a Nigerian novel, poem, a German philosophical text, a Hindi autobiography, or a Bengali short story, we discover that human beings laugh, grieve, hope, and dream in remarkably similar ways. Translation enlarges empathy. It transforms strangers into neighbors. Translation is transfer of content from one language to another. While translating literature, it requires not only the command of both the languages, but it requires courage, trust, and freedom. It is not just movement of words. It crosses borders, cultures, religions, histories, and generations. It reaches out to readers which could be beyond imagination of the author. Translation not only serves as a medium for the dissemination of literature, but also forms the foundation for political revolutions, religious movements, and the exchange of scientific knowledge. Moreover, it influences the philosophical thought and worldviews of different cultures by enabling the exchange of ideas across languages and civilizations. Every great civilization has been built not only by inventing knowledge, but also by translating it. Thus, it creates history and is not secondary to history. It gives voice to the voiceless and has ability to amplify voices that might otherwise remain unheard. The word unshackling itself suggests liberation, whereas shackles restrict movement. They silence, they imprison. By virtue of unshackling only, the Isha Upanishad, the Bhagavad Gita, Rabindranath Tagore got recognition across the globe. Mahashweta Devi, Amrita Pritam, Premchand, Anantamurthy, and countless writers would have been restricted to their own geographical territories only. Ramayana exists in dozens of linguistic traditions. Mahabharata has travelled across languages and cultures for centuries. The poetry of Kabir belongs to no single language. Homer would have been restricted to the border of ancient Greek. Shakespeare could not have travelled all across the globe. Goethe, Schiller, Kafka, Brecht, Rilke, Mann, Borchardt would remain known to German people only. Pablo Neruda, Orhan Pamuk, Gabriel Garcia Marquez could not have achieved global recognition. In absence of translation, they would not have been the stars of galaxy of literature. Rather, would have been lost in darkness or remained famous only in limited way. It transforms local voices into global conversations. The language of humanity is translation, because long before we translate words, we translate experiences, emotions, and cultures. Ancient Greek philosophy reached medieval Europe through Arabic scholars. Indian mathematics traveled westward through Persian and Arabic translations. The Buddhist teachings of India crossed the Himalayas and spread throughout Asia because generations of monks translated sacred texts with remarkable devotion. The Renaissance itself was made possible because forgotten classical texts were rediscovered and translated. Ideas have always traveled faster than armies. Many remarkable writers would never have become part of the world literature without translators. Knowledge has never respected political borders. Translation has ensured that their voices do not remain confined within geographical or linguistic boundaries. Translation is therefore not only a literary practice, but also a profoundly democratic act. It tells every writer their language matters, their story matters. Translation resists censorship. Whenever governments have banned books, whenever dictators have attempted to silence writers, whenever political systems have tried to imprison ideas, translation has quietly kept those ideas alive. Books forbidden in one country have found readers elsewhere through translation. Exiled writers have continued speaking through translators. Poetry has crossed borders even when people could not. Translation reminds us that ideas cannot easily be imprisoned. A border may stop a traveler, it cannot stop a story. But curiously, translators often remain invisible. Readers remember the author, they praise the novel, they discuss the idea, yet they rarely remember the person who made the reading possible. A translator occupies a unique position. He is an unsung hero. But the translator must remain faithful without becoming mechanical, creative without becoming intrusive, invisible without becoming absent. Translation is not copying. It is recreation. Every sentence requires hundreds of decisions. Every metaphor asks whether it should be preserved, adapted, or explained. Every culture reference demands sensitivity. The translator therefore becomes both artist as well as ambassador. Now, the translation in the present age. We live in the age of artificial intelligence. The machines can translate thousands of words within seconds. This technological revolution is remarkable. It has opened doors that were unimaginable only a generation ago. But speed is not understanding. A machine can translate many words, but literature speaks through rhythm, silence, irony, humor, memory, and emotion. Can a machine fully understand longing? Can it recognize cultural memory? Can it hear the music hidden inside poetry? Artificial intelligence will undoubtedly become an indispensable tool, but the translator's imagination, empathy, and ethical judgment remain irrepressible. Technology can accelerate translation. Only human beings can humanize it. Now, in the present age, how much this is important? Our world is witnessing unprecedented migration, global conflicts, climate crisis, digital communication, cultural polarization. At such a moment, translation becomes much more important. It teaches us something desperately needed today. One cannot translate another culture without respecting it. Translation is therefore an education in humility. It reminds us that no language possesses all wisdom. Every language carries something unique. Every culture offers another way of seeing the world. So, every translator lives between difference and understanding, between identity and openness, between memory and possibility. Translation does not erase differences. It allows differences to speak to one another. In doing so, it protects one of the humanity's greatest freedoms, the freedom to know one another. Writers make national literature, while translators make universal literature. Indeed, every translation is an invitation to cross a border without a passport, to enter another culture without fear, to discover another human being without prejudice. And every translator quietly and patiently reminds us that while languages may divide us, stories never do. So let us continue to unshackle words. Thank you.
That was Shipra Chaturvedi telling us about how translation unshackles the written word and inaugurates freedom in its widest definition. Friends, languages that divide us also unite us in translation. Shipra Chaturvedi told us aptly how they forge cross-cultural liberation. And with this, we come to the end of tonight's episode of the English program. I thank all of you for joining us and hope that you will continue to explore global narratives connecting India to the world and bringing the world to India. Until next Friday, Sheeba says Namaskar.